It's the What a Weird Week Easter Special 2025.
Hi, everybody, it's weird.
This is like crazy being here. Like,
Weird.
Really weird tales.
Bigfoot eats out of my trash.
Well, I got a great show for you today with some wonderful weird stuff.
Hi, friends. I'm Scott, and this is What a Weird Week. A look at the odd, interesting, strange, fun, and weird stories. Usually stories from the news this week that are odd and interesting, but this is our Easter special, so we've got some weird news and other interesting Easter stuff for you this week. If you don't celebrate the holiday, I think you'll still find this stuff kind of neato casito, but maybe you want to skip this episode. We're back with our usual format next week. If you want to get the show notes or anything like that, get in touch or find out more about our program, you can go to shownotes.page, shownotes.page. All right, let's get started with the fireworks war that happens at Easter time in Greece. There are churches in this community in Greece, the churches on the hilltop, and they're nearby one another. And so to celebrate midnight mass at Easter time, they have fireworks, but they aim at each other's bell tower. And then they count how many direct hits. And somebody is crowned the winner of the annual fireworks battle. So I will link to all of these things we're talking about in the show notes. Maybe our show goes out over the internet, right? So maybe this is something you do where you're at, or you do something similar. I certainly mean no disrespect. It sounds very exciting. Okay, now we have a tradition of a giant omelet being prepared on Easter Monday. This is a village in France. 1,000 people live in this village, and every Easter Monday, they get a fire going outside. They put a giant 10-foot pan on the fire, and they start cracking eggs, 5,000 eggs, over 100 pounds of bacon, a bunch of other ingredients. They make one omelet big enough to serve everyone in the village. 1,000 people. Zut alors. That sounds delightful. And they say the tradition stems from the story about when Napoleon came through the village and demanded a giant egg dish for his troops. His men needed eggs, and that's where this comes from. Where I'm at, you guys, East Coast Canada, the price of eggs still pretty reasonable. But I know some places our show goes out, the price of eggs has skyrocketed, and maybe you don't want to, instead of a 5,000 egg omelet, maybe you just want, like maybe 2 villagers get an omelet, and that's all there is in the budget this year. It would still be nice. This one, I almost didn't do it. I feel like it may be controversial, and I tried to do fact checking. The rest of the staff has the long weekend off. I linked to the article in the Daily Mail. You can read this thing. It's a tradition out of Papua New Guinea where the Daily Mail says instead of looking outdoors, chocolate would melt. So at Easter time, cartons of cigarettes are hidden in trees. And that's the treasure hunt at Easter time. Is it true? If you have more knowledge on this than the Daily Mail, would you reach out and let me know about the looking for Easter smokes? Is that a real thing in New Guinea? I'm torn on this. Smoking is bad for your health, but treasure hunts are fun. So maybe treasure hunt, but don't smoke. No, you know what? I don't know about this one at all, you guys. I'm not sure. I'll link to the thing, though, if you want to read the article. This one's a shorty. I didn't know that the butter lamb existed. I remember doing a report on the butter cow one time at a state fair where they made an entire cow, sculpted it out of butter. And a similar tradition on a smaller scale in some parts of the world, a lamb is carved out of butter, and it's given dried clove eyes. And the photo that we linked to, you'd have to tell me it was a lamb. It definitely looks like you tried to do something out of butter, but anyway, let's stop there on that one. The butter lamb. This next one, a tradition maybe you've heard of, maybe if you haven't, you might want to adopt it. In Norway, the tradition of reading crime novels and watching crime TV shows at Easter time. The article we linked to says it all goes back to the 1920s. There was an advertising campaign for a book, trying to sell a crime book, and it was, I guess, so successful that every year, that was a time to sell your crime novel, and now, more recently, your crime TV show. Now, if we're wrong, let me say again, the fact checkers have gone home for the long weekend, so if you're in Norway and you're like, nope, you got this wrong, let us know. Reach out through shownotes.page. Also, that's where you can get our show notes, and that's where we link to the article that talks about this crime novel Easter tradition. How could this not catch on, though? A good book and a long weekend where you got a house full of chocolate? That's a pretty good weekend. This next one is a new tradition they're trying to get going. Maybe you caught this in the news. It got picked up a lot because the price of eggs in some places very expensive. The folks at Jet Puffed, in case you're unfamiliar, that's a marshmallow brand, and they're coming out with a kit where you can decorate marshmallows instead of eggs. Dye the marshmallows, paint the marshmallows, decorate those marshmallows. So another option, a less expensive option, and some Easter fun. It's an idea you could steal, even if you don't get the kit from Jet Puffed. Might want to steal the idea. We put a link in the show notes. Next up is the world record for eating marshmallow Peeps. Delicious Peeps, or maybe you're not a Peep fan and you're like, Peeps are for freaks. That's a pretty good slogan. Write that one down, somebody. Try to sell that to Peeps later. So this world record has stood the test of time. Matt Stoney, a professional eater. Please do not attempt unless you're a professional.
With 255 Peeps.
In 5 minutes, Matt Stoney ate 255 Peeps. That is the record. If you want to see that, perhaps you're in a situation where you eat too many Peeps. Watch Matt Stoney eat these Peeps, and then maybe you won't have an appetite for Peeps for a while. We'll link to the video in the show notes. Now, some additional world records we like to mention at Easter time, and maybe one of these is up your alley. Perhaps you, this weekend, will be breaking one of these world records. First one is the most Instagram likes of an egg. We're into the millions and millions and millions and millions of likes of the world record egg. It came out at a time when I believe one of the Kardashians was the most liked photo on Instagram. And a stock photo of an egg showed up on the account World Record Egg. And the caption was something like, hey, let's try to get this picture of an egg the most liked thing on Instagram. Very positive message. We can do it. Something like that. And it did. It went on to become the most liked image on Instagram for quite a while. Now it's second place, but it is the most liked egg on Instagram. But maybe you got a great looking egg and you're ready to beat that record this weekend. Good luck and Godspeed. A few other ones here. The biggest batch of scrambled eggs, more than 6,800 pounds. If you wanted to get that going this weekend, most people to pass an egg around. I believe this is the spoon, the old pass the egg on the spoon. It's hard to find a lot more info on this, but the Guinness World Record is 390 plus people passing the egg. So that's a record maybe you want to set if you go into a place with a good crowd on. Most eggs eaten while watching the egg scene from Cool Hand Luke, 49 eggs. That is, in case you're unfamiliar, that is a famous scene from a classic movie, Cool Hand Luke, where the character is trying to eat 50 eggs, hard-boiled eggs, and while people were watching that scene unfold, they ate 49 eggs. And that's not too shabby. The most boiled eggs to be peeled and eaten in 1 minute, 6. That sounds like something you could do, maybe? If you get the right eggs. Sometimes those things are hard to peel. How about now we hit you with some Peeps facts, where Peeps are the best-selling non-chocolate Easter candy. Over 500 million Peeps are eaten each Easter season. The best-selling Peep, the yellow Peep, the yellow chick. Maybe you like the purple bunny or something else. Well, you're a weirdo. No judgment here. I'm just, science has spoken on that. The company that makes Peeps in the 1950s used to make them by hand. Took 27 hours, almost 27 hours to make a Peep. Then they went automation, 6 minutes, the 6-minute Peep. Scientists at Emory University in the 1990s tested a theory that Peeps might be indestructible by a number of means. Microwaving, running tap water over, boiling water. Hold on a second. A Peep can survive boiling water? Really? They ran tests, and the Peep is surprisingly resilient and hard to destroy. It's the candy of resilience, you guys. I mean, chocolate is delicious, but you leave that chocolate out in the sun for 10 seconds, and you got mush. You got chocolatey mush. A Peep, it's going to stand the test of time. You know what? On that inspiring note, let's call her a day. Thank you for listening to the What a Weird Week Easter special. Next week, we're going to be back with the normal format of weird news, odd and interesting stuff. So hope you can tune that in. I appreciate it when you like, follow, give stars to whatever the things are. You can get all our show notes and find out more about the program. Go to shownotes.page. Catch it next week with more weird stuff on What a Weird Week. Here comes Dennis Cottontail. Yeah, he's Peter's brother. He'd rather hide himself than Easter eggs. Easter eggs. He borrowed cash from a shady dude, and now it seems he's kinda screwed. It's hard to hop around with broken legs. Broken legs. Happy Easter. Save your keister. Dennis, you have gotta get out of town. Just lie low until the heat's died down. Dennis the rabbit who has no business sense.